Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Be a Boss Coaching Podcast. I am so excited for you to listen to this week's episode featuring Kenia del Viento. Kenia is a creative entrepreneur, life coach, poet, and educator. She's dedicated to empower others to own their worthiness, show up authentically, and live a fulfilling life. She offers one-on-one life coaching services, journaling circles, poetry readings, has her own notebooks, and creates safe and intentional community spaces. Kenia's life purpose is to stand in her power, embrace her worthiness, share her voice, live authentically, and she inspires her community to do the same. I'm so excited for you to hear my conversation with Kenia about creativity. One of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with her is because she inspired me to look at creativity differently. As an entrepreneur and as a social worker, my brain worked in very logical ways. And I always felt like creativity required people and brains that thought more flexibly, that didn't think so logically, and that had inner creative skills. I've learned recently that creativity isn't reserved only for artists or singers or people who draw, but it can also be reserved or it can also be practiced by people who are more logical. And that's because creativity can be tapped into when we tap into our own needs, what we require from our own healing. And in this conversation that I had with Kenia, we discover so much about creativity. It isn't just about learning about it, but it's about understanding our own process for creating. Whether we're creating a new workshop or a new piece of art, the process is the key to understanding our own creativity. And it looks different for everybody. I hope that you enjoy this episode. And please come back after the show to tell us what you thought, to leave us a comment or reach out to us on DM on Instagram or any platform that you can find us. Enjoy the show. Hey y'all, and welcome to season 3 of the Be a Boss Coaching Podcast. My name is Beatriz. I'm a business and entrepreneur coach, and I'm the founder of Be a Boss Coaching. In this podcast season, I am thrilled to have a brand new lineup of guests from diverse fields, each bringing their own unique products and services to the table. Not only are we featuring inspiring business entrepreneurs and their stories, but we'll also dive into the skills and innovations that are integral in building a thriving business. Get ready for topics that are essential for your entrepreneurial journey. In this season, we'll cover everything from healing to AI to creativity to building a private practice. Stay tuned and don't forget to visit beabosscoaching.com where you can read our other blogs, listen to our other podcast episodes, and join our newsletter where you'll find out about new services and offers and exclusive discounts and so much more. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you so much, Kenia, for being here. I am honored that you took the time to be in the podcast and have a chat with me. And I see you almost every week. And I know we'll talk about it. I know we can talk about your healing through journaling circle, which is something that I take part in almost every week. And you have a membership for that as well. But before I get started, I just want to give you the opportunity to say your name and who you are, and we can get started.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It feels so good to be here with you and get to know you more. It's been so good to to know you and then now do this. I think that I enjoy when we are in this process of talking and like interviewing or like having a conversation, we learn, we grow, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity as well, and it is an honor for me. I am Kenia Margarita, and I go by Kenia del Viento. I am a creative entrepreneur. I like to call myself a creative entrepreneur because I do so many things that it's hard to say, like, this is me. Like, labels have I've been attached to labels for so long that I had to undress from them. And when I put them back on, I intentionally um, do it right. And so I think creative entrepreneurs feels right. And under all of that, I am a life coach, a poet, an educator, a community builder, um, and a speaker. And I ultimately, what I want and my purpose is to empower myself to live a life that I am proud of, that I enjoy, but most of all is with that I empower others to do the same, to choose themselves and their dreams. Because for so long I thought that in order for me to be happy was like to get goals and accomplish, but then I realized it all starts with me, like what I want, and then we can change the world and create that change that we are all in need of, right? Especially
Yeah.
during this time. So that
Yeah.
I can go on and on about who I am, but that's that's some of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad that you shared. And I am just learning who you are just because I go to, so I'm just for people who may not know this about me, but I join your healing through journaling circle on Real Girl Amiga. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to have a conversation with you, is because it's a space that you created. And I believe in healing a lot in any journey, whether you're a business owner or not. I think it's so important. And it's a new way that I have seen healing for me. Like I have a therapist and I have started that journey, but this is a different way that I access my healing as well. And you created that space. And so something that I've been thinking about was, and it's always been a question for me in the back of my head because I'm a business owner. And something that always comes up is the idea of bringing in my creativity into my business and everything that I do or try to create for my business. And I was like, man, Kenya, like, you just do it. You create circles, you create spaces, you have journals that you sell, you do life coaching, which I can imagine just how great you would be at that, because like you just said, how you have found that you choose yourself and do things for yourself, you want that for others as well. And I was like, man, in general, also the fact that you're a poet, I've seen videos of you performing and I'm like, that is so cool. Like having your creativity and bringing into your entrepreneurship. I know you said that you identify as a creative entrepreneur. And so I really wanted to have a conversation around how you see creativity and how do you bring it into your business and your entrepreneurship. We talked a little bit about this. I know we connected prior to this, and I know you said something that I wonder how I would expand on it, which was connecting to yourself spiritually. So, can you talk a little bit more about what does that mean to you when it comes to bringing your creativity into your business?
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. When you were speaking, there was a lot happening in my brain. And when you're like
Yeah.
connecting to yourself spiritually, I was like, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
that's how it all starts.
Yeah.
I used to not call myself a creative, or I didn't think of myself as that way. It all
Yeah.
started when I started my business and I decided to really understand who Kenya is. And when I did that, I went through this process of really like the baseline is choosing worthiness. And
Mm.
I, for so long, felt this sense of I'm not enough. I'm not, um, like, my value is not enough. Like, I have to prove my value. And that was like my first, when I started my business, I created a framework and it's called Stand in Your Power. And it's the first thing I tell my clients is like, you have to choose worthiness. You have to choose because at first it's a choice and you have to decide, like, I'm worthy. Like, I am worthy.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
you start kind of seeing yourself, like separating yourself from like kind of creating this distance of like you, like, and you decide like, okay, I am this worthy person and I am like valued, I am enough. And from there you start to really show up authentically. And what does that mean? Like, get to know yourself. Who are you? And in that space, I create from that space. I create from who am I and what do I want to see in the world? What do I need to see in the world? What does Kenya really need to see so that she can thrive, so that she can be happy, so that she can
Mhm.
um, really live this life in a way that she hasn't had for so many years? And
Mm.
I think when we talk about, or when I think about my spirituality, I think about myself as part of nature. I even have this like affirmation in front of me that says, "I am nature." I embrace
Mm.
my inner wisdom and share it with integrity and love. So I think of myself as, for example, a tree. A tree has it's wise. It lives its life like it tries to, you know, it survive and it feeds everything around, like with the roots, like it's connected to other plants, it's connected
Yeah.
to humans. So I think of myself as nature, and I know that like if I look at a flower, that flower is beautiful, but it's unique. It has is it's just imperfect, right? And at the end, like that's just a word for me to describe, but we are all perfectly made. And I think when we understand that, when I understood that, and when I shift my mindset to like, oh, I'm here. Like, why am I here? How can I like show myself fully? I think that's how I've been able to connect spirituality to my life in a way that feels authentic to me and that it brings out that creative Kenya, that authentic Kenya when she has to create is not about um, really like what do others want, but like what do I need? And I think
Mm.
it it all starts there. And when I think about my authenticity and I think about like the things that I've created, I go back to like, I'm an experiment. I'm gonna like, in order for
Mhm.
us to become an expert or to, you really have to kind of create like an experiment of the things that you want. It's like go and experience life, like experience, experiment, expert, right? Like go and
Mm.
experience. And that's what I do is like my life is an experience. And then I get to experiment with it. And then I get to become an expert if it's
Mm.
something that really brings that value to me. So I, that's what's coming up with that question. And I don't know if I answered it, but
Yeah.
there's like so many layers to this process of me, of who I am right now, and why I call myself a creative entrepreneur. I think that something that came up yesterday for for one of my members in Healing Through Journaling, she
Yeah.
said, when I heal, when I like fix this part of myself, then everything else seems to fall in place as well. And that's how we are. Nature is so connected. We're so connected. We're so connected to our bodies, to others. Like like we are so connected to everything that we like our environment, and that's
Mhm.
something that I hold and I accept and I'm like, okay, yeah, like if the world is suffering, no wonder I'm suffering. Like
Mm.
no one, right? Like there's,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So that's what's
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah. No, I really love a lot of what you said. And I connected to a lot of it because I think I shared with you that there was, when I started my business, I was trying to figure out, okay, what kind of business do I want to start? And then when I decided on business coaching, I was like, oh, okay, now I need to create a freebie, or I need to create a workshop, or I need to create my website, right? And at the end of the day, that all needs to come from you, like who you are, right? Especially as for me as a coach, I think you hear a lot about bringing out who you are, right? And I realized that in trying to start a business, like I'm trying to learn about business, but I'm also at the same time trying to learn about me and trying to learn. And it comes out. I mean, there's no going around or trying to skip trying to figure out who you are when you're starting a business, because what comes out is this new version of you that you didn't even know could exist, where you're making decisions and you're creating and you're thinking about others. But you're also like, and I love what you said around, when I create for me, because I think we get stuck in like, oh, what are others going, is this going to be good for other people? Will people find this valuable? Is this going to um, really help somebody? And then you do something and then you don't put it out because you're not sure. Like I think I shared one time with you, Kenya, or like maybe in the circle, that I was trying to create a workshop. And I'm still trying to create a workshop. And it is happening actually. But I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't think this is going to be valuable for people, you know? And I remember you told me, you know, when I create, you said the same thing. I create for me. What do you need? What do I need in this moment? And so I really stepped into that mindset of like, what do I need for this workshop? And so I was able to start laying it out and write it out, and like, okay, this is what I need. I liked it and I did it for myself and it's fun. So I was like, let me just share it, right? And I think that was really helpful in creating something that I didn't feel this pressure where it needs to be perfect, and you know. So I'm glad that you shared that with me. And I think when it comes to creativity, we tend to feel like they're two different, completely opposite characteristics from business, when in fact, the best things that come out are when you bring your creativity into what you do for your business. So I love that. And you said
I,
also experience, experiment, and expert. I really like that.
yeah, and I just want to say before you continue to share that, one of the things that I like, the way you have to find your own way that your business works for you. You have to
Mm,
have those strategies, right? That work. So I do that, right? But at the same time, I also ask myself, like, I am my first client. That's one of my rules. Like, that's one of my strategies is like, I am my first client. Why? Because I am in serving people. And if this project, this workshop, this idea doesn't excite me, then it's going to be really challenging and tough to serve my clients. So when I
yeah.
think about the workshops or the things that I'm going to do, I think of myself as my first client. Is it going to challenge me? Is it going to excite me? Is it going to like also push me and kind of get me in that zone of like, yes, this, if it's not, if it's, I think that's what I have been um, working on as I move forward with my business is how can, like, how does it feel for me? Because in the end, I have to show up.
Yeah, I love that you said that I'm my first client,
Yeah,
because
you
it's so
have to
true.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you don't really think about it that way. You forget to think about it that way because sometimes you do something and you're all of a sudden you're not doing it because you feel so overwhelmed with trying to get information and research, and it's like, wait a minute, I could be doing something else that I know and that I enjoy and that I feel comfortable talking about. That's happened to me a lot where,
That's and what
yeah.
I'm like, that's why I learned. That's why people leave their businesses, right? Their full time is to do things that they love. But then we get on this trap of like, what do people need? One of the things I always think about is people need you and what you're passionate about right now. Sometimes I think about like in the beginning when I started my business, I wanted to serve people that grew up like me, that were like that had the same experience. So what ended up happening is that I wanted them to jump from point like A to point D, right? Like I was probably in
Yeah.
point D if we're just talking, just to
Yeah.
create a visual. Um,
Yeah.
and I wanted them to go from point A to D, but it was impossible. So I had to say, you know what? People at point A, they're
Mhm.
going to find their people that's going to support them. I'm here at D, so maybe I can help ease,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
so then you have to grow with your business too. You can't, at
Yeah.
first, yeah, when I was, let's say if I was at D, I was trying to help those people because I didn't really understand. But now I'm like, oh, okay, you're attracting at that level that you are also working on yourself, especially in this business. Like when I'm a life coach, right? So then
Mhm.
I teach about life. I say teach, but really it's like we really focus on your life now. And usually the people that I attract are people that are doing the same thing as me, that are like expanding, challenging themselves,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
that's exciting to me because it's
Yeah.
like an exchange of energy and ideas. And I
Yeah.
had to learn that so that I could also expand in my business and get the people that I connected with to come to me.
Yeah. I think that the people that connect to you and that you attract, I mean, I'm not surprised, Kenya, that you attract like so many people because I think your practice around really connecting to yourself and choosing yourself is something that you do on the daily. It's like nature. Like you said, it's like like you're part of nature and it's natural to you. And so that I think sometimes in this journey like you you learn all the different ways that you can connect to yourself through business, spiritually. And then sometimes something, you come across something and it just clicks. And you're like, oh, okay, wait. Let and that for me has been when I'm in your healing circle sometimes because there's so many folks who like share, right? And I'll talk a little bit about maybe you can talk a little bit about your healing circle because you give us these prompts and I love that you're always saying how there's no right or wrong, right? There's no right or wrong in how you journal. It's just what comes out. And usually in all of that and then intertwining it with everybody's like what they're thinking about and what they're writing, it creates like a new little like glimmers of like, oh, there's like it connects to something that you might be experiencing. And most of the time I feel like I'm experiencing a block in creativity, because I'm trying to create something.
I want to share something that you've shared. And when I think for me, when it happens, it's either fear that's the block, or it's either overwhelm. Like, and maybe
Yeah.
that thing that I don't, it's not really like something that I want to do. And so, like,
Yeah.
um, so I think for me, is like, what's the fear? Is it fear, or is it overwhelm? Is it because maybe I have a lot of ideas and I write them down and I keep them
Mm-hmm.
safe, but I know I can't do them all. And I know that
Yeah.
sometimes they're not like right for me right now. So I do want to share something that you said, with the healing through journaling, and in general with coaching, how
Mm-hmm.
it works and how I approach is like, we get an insight. There was like a little insight or a shift or an opportunity in our conversations in healing through journaling or in coaching.
Yeah.
And we grab that little thing, what that insight, that opening, that crack,
Mm-hmm.
however you feel. And then I go in there and we kind of, I don't want to say poke because that sounds like it hurts, but like just kind of like curious, like, hey, I felt
Yeah.
something, right? And sometimes I'll
Yeah.
ask, like, oh, like, what's an action that you want to take today based on the conversations? And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that's where it starts, right? That's where the creativity, like when creativity comes or when insights come, we kind of get curious and then we take a small action, because then we get
Mm-hmm.
scared of going like, oh, like my my ideas are big sometimes, and I think all of our ideas in general, like we're like, oh, I want to create this big thing, but then
Mm-hmm.
when that comes, like, how can you do a small thing today? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where, like you're saying, we're like in like that insight or um that whatever someone else said,
Yeah.
it's, we're human. We love connecting with others. Our
Mm-hmm.
creativity is tied to others. Like, where
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I'm gonna come up with an idea on my own. And if I did, I do that because it's really when I'm in nature or like taking a shower when things
Mm-hmm.
come, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
those things didn't come alone. They came because of my connections, of my environment, of the people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so understanding that for me has been really important. And then also for me, it's like taking that small step that's gonna, I think this is gonna be like, if you're listening to this, or if we want to do this right now, but like if we
Mm-hmm.
close our eyes and we just
Mm-hmm.
imagine that we're like in this room, for example, I'm in this room, and then
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I want,
I'll close my eyes
um,
too.
yeah, we can like do this because this is really powerful. So imagine you're in the room that you are in, and I tell you, hey, um, like you're gonna have to uh, go and I'm just trying to think about a good example because this is so improvised. But like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you to draw a picture with watercolors, and it's gonna have to be a butterfly. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh no, like I don't have any colors, I don't have any paint, I don't have any paper. And
Mm-hmm.
then I say, hey, like just step out that door. Like the first step is like walking out that door, and you're all like,
Mm-hmm.
no, like there's nothing, like I don't know how to paint, I don't know that, like all the things, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna tell you, hey, trust me, like go do it. And then you open a door, and then you are now in a room, and in that room you realize that there is like this table with paint, and you're like, oh, I see some paint at the table, and I'm like, walk, keep walking. And then you
Mm-hmm.
take 1, 2, 3 steps, and then you realize there's a teacher there, like ready for you to like show you how to do this butterfly. And then I'm like, And then now you're like, oh, okay, so everything is here. And then you're like, but I never painted before. Um, but then there is someone there to support you. And there is a chair there for you so that you can like take your time. And then, so sometimes I think we get too scared to step out of the door. And so we get stuck in there like, no, I don't have anything. But if you kind of stepped that first step, I kind of know that there is like a room, like there is this room available to you. It's like when you go to the kitchen or like when you're like, okay, you have to fall asleep and you're like, no, I can't. I don't have a bed. I'm in the kitchen. But then if you walk into the room and you'll find the bed, you'll find the pillows, you'll find the bedroom, right? So it's like that with our creativity. It's like the universe is like co-creating with us. So if we say, hey, I want to do this, like you'll start seeing the things that will lead you to create what you want. Has that ever happened to you? Where you're like,
so it actually, I feel like since I've been talking to you, because remember how, Kenya, I've been like, I want to do this workshop. And in the healing through journaling, I actually start writing, and then whatever I write, it comes out, and then it leads me into like whatever. Like I think the last healing through journaling, I didn't really share because I was like kind of focused. Like I was listening, and then I was getting ideas. So I was like trying to write, and I was writing, and so finally, because I have a date for this workshop, and but ever since you said I create for me, that just like clicked for me. It just clicked for me. And so I was like, I really enjoy just like brainstorming and doodling and colors. I'm like, I'd like to do something with that and still have it be like a teaching moment. And so literally since yesterday, I was like, oh, maybe I could do breakout groups depending on how many people come, and they can come and they can do breakout groups, and then they can like support each other in building a business model, because I was like, I would like to do something on business models, but business models are like boring. I feel, most of they're not boring, but when you think about business models, you don't think about it as a fun concept. And I wanted to bring in a element that was about creating, but creating with crayons, with markers, or even on your computer, any painting software you have. And it's colorful, and it has drawings, and it has pictures, just to kind of show that a business model doesn't need to look a certain way. It literally can look however you want it to look. But as long as you have the elements, it's sort of like when you have I don't know if a formula is the right analogy, but like you just plug things in, but then it can look however you want it to look. You could draw an element out. I was drawing out my business model yesterday, and I realized that I doodled myself in it. And I was like, oh, it could be like this. I want it to be fun. So that's what I started thinking about. And I'm like, so that's how it's been. I've been making progress with that. And so I want to thank you, because you were the one who helped in like, okay, this is for me, but I also want to share it, right? So like, how can other people?
I just want to stop right there and just share like one of the things that starts happening is like you realize like, oh, okay, like that's what I'm passionate. This is what I want to do in my own way. And so I just
Yeah.
like want to ask you, like, through this process, like, what have you learned about you and your creativity and that relationship that you are creating with your own creativity? And even if, like, that's a question maybe
Yeah.
that I'm just coming up with right now.
Yeah.
I've never asked myself this. Like, you brought,
Yeah.
when we came together, I was like, yes, I'm doing this. But sometimes we are not analyzing ourselves. I think with teaching, there is like three, like if you want to become like a master, like a pro, it's like the
Mhm.
first is like you learn about it, like with something new, you learn and you do it.
Yeah.
Then you do it. Like the first one is you learn about it. Like, okay, here, this is how
Mm.
creativity works. Like, for example, today, right?
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
you do it, and that's why you're doing it. And then the third, to in order for you to become a pro at creativity, let's say,
Mhm.
you have to teach it. And
Mhm.
to teach it, you have to understand how you're doing it, like
Yeah.
to master, right? To become a pro. So
Yeah.
that's how, like, now that's the question we need to ask. Like, if let's say I wanted to create a workshop on creativity, then I would have to kind of understand myself and say, oh, what has worked for me? What, like, ask myself
Yeah.
all those questions. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, something I'm learning is I like to either say things out loud or doodle them out. Like or something that feels colorful. Like, and that's why I love like sticky notes, because there's so many. Look at all the different sticky notes I have. I love sticky notes. But what happens is that sticky notes, I feel like, are for thoughts or ideas and maybe diagramming something. But I just like the colors. I like colors. And so I have, like, sometimes I'll have an idea and I'll write it down on my tablet or on my computer, and I just have different things everywhere though. So like I because at the end of the day I want to feel organized, there's like a place where I can like organize, like with my tablet. Like I have all these notes, right? But at least it's all in one place.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like, yeah, that's been my how I'm kind of connecting to that aspect of myself, my creativity. Um and now something that you said the other day is enjoying the process and enjoying like the actual creating of something. That's something that I'm really also trying to practice, because when you lose the joy out of creating something, I think that's when you get stuck, or
Yeah.
yeah.
And you said it beautifully. Like, you said, oh, I need this colorful, like, sticky notes and all these
Yeah.
things. And then, like,
Yeah.
do that. Like, let's do that with, like, that's what I do. I don't know if I should move my camera, but I can show you my wall. It's like, I love to have like my wins, like who I connect with on my wall. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen it before, but I also have like, this is a beautiful, like, this is my sacred space, and this is where I spend
Yeah.
most of my time. And I
Yeah.
also like colorful stuff. And
Yeah.
first, I had to understand myself and what I liked, because then I was accumulating a lot of things and it wasn't
Mhm.
serving me. It was kind of, so it's like the same thing with your process in your business. If you need to like go back and slow down so that you can speed up, right? So
Mm.
the way you slow down is like you go back and you're like, okay, let me look at myself. Let me see who I am. Let me see what is mine truly. Because some of the things that we accumulate in our business or in our life are not ours. They're like, oh, here, take, like, when you go somewhere and they're like, here, take this sticker and like like there's
Mhm.
clues and people are trying to, it's like the same thing with your life and your business, because we're trying to understand ourselves and we're like, oh, this might serve me, but you're not being intentional about it. And I think with your business, it's like stepping back and slowing down and seeing like, okay, sticky notes work for me or they don't, but like I have to like sit with it a
Mhm.
few days. And that's just like sticky notes is like so simple, but even like workshops, right? Like the workshops work for me and my business. Like sit with it,
Mm.
do it, practice it, and then go back and say like, yes, no. Something that worked for me, I did workshops, I did challenges. Something that worked for me were challenges. And then I realized like the word challenge wasn't like very, like now, like at first it worked, but now I'm like, I don't really I don't really enjoy the word challenge, just because I
Mm.
think like for me it's like the word experience sounds so much better for me for many
Mm.
reasons. But it worked back then, and then maybe now like the people that I'm attracting, I'm like, yeah, like I don't want you to challenge yourself like to this level. I
Mm.
want you to experience, like experiment, and it's a different approach as I evolved, as I changed. And so, um, yeah, I think you, like you found, like you're exploring, right? Like, oh, I
Mm.
want it to be colorful, and I want it to be like this. And I think that's the beauty of it all, because in your business, you have to, you are growing too. You're learning more about yourself, and you have to honor that. And I think that's, for me, that's the key in my business. Like when you said about like your business model, I think like for me, it's like, how, like, am I being true to myself? And that's like the first one, if I can think of it,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
same way you drew yourself there is like, am I being true to this person that I drew on right here? And I think that that's what's coming up with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's such a important thing to talk about, just because, at least for me, the experience of starting my own business, it's sometimes I default to figuring out the business part of me, or the business side, and then being this other creative person. And it's like, I feel like it's two different ways of being, when in reality, it's how do you bring them together, which is something that I'm really in talking to you. And like, and that's why I think also healing is important in general, just because it's a practice that helps me to be brave, to take bold action, and like you said, take messy action even. And I love that in that messy action, the way that you connect back to it. It's not just messy action, it's messy action because you connect to your process and you connect to yourself. So it doesn't need to be perfect, and it doesn't need to be, you know, like world renowned or anything like that. And so I love that your approach around connecting to yourself, your experience, and then experimenting and essentially becoming an expert. And that's what I'm taking away from our conversation today. It's just like that process, or that framework that is how you approach your business, your creativity, and it's not two separate things. At least like that's the way that I was kind of looking at it. And something that you're making me realize is that it's all you, like you're in it. um and I think that is a true definition of authenticity, is when you can really feel connected to what you create. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I
Yeah.
think that one of the things that's coming up is like, there is our professional self, and then there is like our, and there is a difference, but that doesn't mean that you take yourself out. That doesn't
Yes.
mean that. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we get stuck, because sometimes I think I like heard this, like, are you being your professional self or your, like
Your
regular self, or I don't know
yeah,
what the other one is called. It's like out of my
your
head, but
personal or
your
yeah,
personal,
yeah,
yeah, or like your friend. Are you being like a friend, or? But the truth
yeah.
for me is like, you are your professional self, but you yourself, like you,
Yeah.
right? And so
Right.
sometimes we're trying to mimic someone
Mm-hmm.
else's professional
Professional.
self, and
Mm-hmm.
it's still not ours, right? So finding our
Right.
own. And I think with your workshop and like your business model, workshop, and like creating that for ourselves is really valuable when you are starting a business. When you, even if you're not, like some of us start our business without a model, uh, and so just even like reviewing, it changes. Or some of us
Mm-hmm.
have something and it changes. Like I've said, I've changed that. I think that's another key with creativity and your business in general is you have to evolve. You have
Yeah.
to allow yourself to change and to say, okay, yeah, this was working, this is not working anymore. And so, yeah, I love that. I'm so excited for this workshop.
Yeah. I'm actually I have the sign up sheet ready. I made it yesterday. Um Shout out to my accountability partner, who was like, you need to do it. And I was like, okay. But I've been just feeling really inspired by healing through journaling and what you said, and just like really wanting to figure out for me, what does it look like to connect to my creativity, and like how does it come out. And it's a process because it's not overnight, right? It's not overnight. But it when you find that little spark, or that like, oh, something starts to click for you and you're like, oh, okay, I see what that means. And yes, I feel connected to what you said. Like you said, you start to kind of, you're curious, and what is that, and well, how do you do that? And that's what's been happening for me with this workshop lately. Kind of just like, okay, let me see what this might look like. Like, I don't know what it is gonna look like, but let me see. And you do it, you create it with curiosity, and I think that's what's been helping for me. And so at the end of the day, like, creativity is not, I think it's more of a process rather than like something you learn. Because I think I told you, right, Kenya, that I was like reading about creativity and reading books about creativity, and that's helpful in concept, in concept what it is. But at the end of the day, it is very connected spiritually to you. And that's what I'm learning, and what I'm taking away from this conversation today.
Yeah, I love it. And something that you said about the curiosity, about like your creativity, and being a process, and like that's a messy action, right? Like when you start
Mm-hmm.
being curious and you like, okay, let's see, like that's a messy action, because you're not going in there to create something perfect. You're kind of going in there to like see. And that's where like you're not, it's like the unknown, right? Like of this
Mm-hmm.
spark. And I think that's where, when it says like, be courageous, you do have to go in with courage and know
Mm-hmm.
that it's kind of like a practice. And that's the beauty of that creativity. And then also something that you said is like, like the creativity, and like we think sometimes like with coaching, the reason why I love coaching, and I am part of a group coaching, and then also like my clients come to me for coaching, or I see coaching, or we're
Mm-hmm.
doing this journaling experience, it's not because I'm gonna teach you something. Like in healing through
Mhm.
journaling, I don't teach you anything. Like I'm not
Right.
there to like say, here is how you do this. And even in
Mhm.
coaching, that's not how it works. Like this is
Right.
how you do it. Like there might be coaches out there who do that. And there is the
Mhm.
strategy part, which
Mhm.
I value and I know it's essential. But when it comes to coaching, when it comes to this group coaching containers, because
Mhm.
essentially our circle is a group, like I feel like it's kind of like a group coaching because we stretch it, right? To
Yeah.
to that part where it's like where there is a shift. And I think
Mhm.
that's where people think that by reading a book, like you might have 10 books under your belt, but if you
Mhm.
didn't actually take any action, if you actually didn't poke or like got curious
Mhm.
around those insights, then
Mhm.
it'll just go away. Like our brain, the like if you know about like neuroplasticity and like the pathways, our brain will just kind of forget that because we're not
Yeah.
practicing it. So that's a whole another thing. But I just
I
like
love that you said it though. I love that you said it because people could be like, imagine we'll name this episode, bringing creativity into your business, and you could read the book, you could listen to the podcast, but what are you going to do today? What are you taking away
yes,
from this conversation, and what are you going to go do today that's going to
strengthen
strengthen, right? Like,
that pathway in our brain, like that
right.
rewiring of your brain, right?
Right. Yeah. So I'm glad that you said it. I think it's a perfect way to leave it there just because we talked about it, you listened about it. Now go and figure out what does it look like to bring your creativity into your business, into what you're creating for others, for yourself, right? Cuz I think that's what we talked about too, is creating for yourself. And I just want to thank you, Kenya, for having this conversation and for really emulating what does it feel and look like to tap into your creative self and bringing it into business. I would like for people to know about your circle. So can you talk about that and what you offer, and then where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I love this. I love having these conversations and um yeah, if you're gonna create something, do it because like if you have a seed in your heart to create something, go do it. It needs to be born. If you don't do it, it's still gonna be born because the universe will make sure that it's born because it's needed. You're just a
Yes.
vehicle, and that's what I believe I am. You can
Mhm.
find me at Kenia del Viento, keniadelviento.com. Also, I do one-on-one coaching. That's like my favorite one. That's the one I am so passionate about. When I hear like when I take my clients, we come together, we like learn who we are, and then we just go and take the action. I'm very action driven. And I'm also very like, I know what it's like to be resilient, so I push my clients to be vulnerable and loving and soft because we need more of us first gen cycle breakers to tap into that as well because um, we deserve softness and lightness because there is so much hard struggle challenges all the other things, right? So then
Yeah.
that's really like who I serve and why I bring. And then also my healing through journaling is a membership, a monthly membership. So if you want to join, you'll find it on my website, on my Instagram at Kenia Viento. And then I am part of Amigahood with We All Grow. I have the journaling circle. It's not called Healing Through Journaling in the Amigahood anymore, but we're still healing and we are transforming and growing. And then if you want to buy my notebooks, they're available right there too. You can find them. Um, And yeah, thank you so much, Beatriz. I've had a beautiful time and a wonderful, and this was so fun and insightful. I'm gonna go and take action too. And one of the things
Yeah.
that's coming up is like I'm gonna share some of the things that I've shared today on like a video or something on my social media
Yeah.
because I feel like I don't share enough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited to see it and see it on Instagram and like it. So thank you so much, Kenya. This was wonderful. I've learned so much from being in your community, from journaling, and so I thank you for providing the space, for creating it, and you inspire me a lot. So I'm just honored that you came onto the podcast. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Be a Boss Coaching podcast. To connect with me and the other featured guests of this podcast, remember to come over to the show notes and visit us at beabosscoaching.com. Remember that you don't have to do this alone. If you have any self-doubt or uncertainties, there's so many places and communities and resources out there for you to tap into. You just need to take action. I can't wait to meet you, and I'll see you in the next episode.